Sometimes when you're really bummed out, like when you're waiting forever for a Berserk chapter to drop, you just want to go somewhere far out into the middle of the woods, find a tomb, and call it a night. Chapter 382 shows us a little bit further of where we left off last time, and I will admit in the last chapter I was a little bit disappointed by what we got. However, this chapter makes it feel like we are going to go to someplace special, although I will say, just to get any negatives out of the way, my only disappointment about this chapter in particular is just how short it felt. But I also imagine this kind of cinematically, if it was a very long walk where you have this anxiety about what's going to be at the other end, going through all of the mountains here, very curious about where they're going to take Guts and what his fate is ultimately going to be, where we have Guts himself not really giving two shits whatsoever as to what's happening at this point in time, and the only people that are really following him that we know are Isidro, Puck, and Azan. But in a way, I do kind of like that too, because Isidro, of course, was introduced as the character that was always following behind Guts and, trying to catch up with him, and Puck was the first character that Guts met on this journey, so it is kind of poetic in a way. But then there's also Azan, who is just kind of here and has just been kind of here for a while. And of course you have Salat and the Bakiraka, who have always been keeping a close eye on Guts ever since they were introduced as well. But this walk really does seem very ominous, and I think if you think about it more as if this was animated or if this was live action, what this scene would feel like, you would feel the slow motion, you would feel the tension, you would feel this ominous force of, I have no idea where this is going to end up, and you have a character in the middle who really at this point does not care, which makes it even more sad and depressing to witness. You see the sun kind of going down, setting, basically the end of one day, the end of an era, leading to whatever the next era is going to be. This really does feel like a curtain call for something. Then they get to an area that is wrapped in trees and roots, and we see corpses lined up outside of it. There's some statues that are kind of fallen over and broken apart. And when I first saw the tree imagery and all of the roots and branches, I was thinking maybe this is one of the spirit trees that Griffith's group never got around to destroying. Maybe this is the last one in existence, or the fact that it's not bloomed and that it looks like it's cracked and broken in half. Maybe it was one of the spirit trees, and this was where Daiba was aware of that kind of information, and how it's growing right over top of the dome that they're bringing Guts to. The translation calls it a stupa, which is basically a place that you would go to meditate, to isolate, to self-reflect. A place where you would perform rituals or prayers or, something spiritual is going to happen here. And it seems like a place that either hasn't been entered in a long time, or it's something that is so sacred and so special, probably somebody enters it once in a lifetime. All of the roots have grown over the entrance, and Daiba has to use magic in order to move the roots. And then the doors are shown to be massive and heavy, so even if you got the roots out of the way, no normal person could enter this. You need two bodybuilder Bakirakas to push as hard as they can to open these doors, and these guys are struggling. So it seems like you need a combination of both magic and physical strength in order to even enter this stupa. Now, what I find really interesting next is this image of Guts with all of the spears around his neck, because it feels very similar to right before Griffith got sent to the dungeon. There was a similar panel, and I don't know if they are purposely trying to parallel Griffith and Guts here, but it would be interesting because Griffith had this happen, that was captured and then sent into the dungeon, where he had his moment of mental breakdown and seeing images of his future and the God Hand and all of that before what happens. And Guts now is having a moment where he has these spears around his neck and he's being sent into a dark, isolated room, although it's not going to be a dungeon, but maybe it will, depending on Guts' state of mind. Guts is pushed and forced in and doesn't seem to be too resistant about it, and we do see some good reaction images from Isidro and Puck, both of course worried about what's going to happen to him. And once again, remember that Guts' group is basically prisoners here. I mean, Isidro wasn't even supposed to follow them, just he did, and Daiba didn't really care, but it's not like they can just go rescue him. They are far outnumbered by all of the Kushan, so this is what Daiba said to do. The Kushan agree. There's not really much our group can do about it. Guts walks in, looks like he's entering the hyperbolic time chamber. I'm just kidding. That would be cool, though. And he gives this look back as if he's saying goodbye. I feel like he really is looking at Isidro and Puck in this moment, because we see Puck's reaction right before the next page where Guts kind of turns and looks. And again, kind of poetic in a way that Puck was the first person that he met on this journey. And now he's looking at Puck as the doors close behind him, and he's kind of saying goodbye. But here's the interesting thing about this. Now, I do obviously believe there is something magical and spiritual about this stupa. There's no way that there wouldn't be. But I think this could lead us into a very interesting direction, not only with paralleling Griffith in some way, but also because I said a while ago that I really wanted another chapter that was similar to the chapter where Guts was in Godo's cave right before he set off for his journey to find Casca in the Conviction arc, where he had a moment in the cave where he didn't have his weapon, he didn't have his armor, and he was just thinking and reflecting to himself. He was thinking about the past and everything that had happened, and he was also having significant discussions with the Beast of Darkness within him. And I've been saying for a long time that I've wanted another chapter like that. I think Guts needs to have this moment of reflection, and also we know that the Beast of Darkness was getting stronger and stronger and stronger inside him, wanting to take over completely. So what other better opportunity is there for him now to be in this isolated location, basically setting himself up to die and being able to have those conversations? I really do think the next chapter is going to be like a massive look back at the entire series thus far. And I think we are building up to Guts' rejuvenation. I think we're building up to that catharsis of Guts snapping back into a state of mind and becoming a newer, better, stronger, more focused version of himself. But we have to go through this dark time in order to get there. You have to hit rock bottom, and then once you do, there's nowhere to go but up. And I think that's what we are experiencing with Guts. I think that we have to take Guts all the way to his breaking point. And I'm talking past his breaking point of the eclipse. That was a mask that he put on to some degree, where he was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm angry. I'm going out for revenge. This is a very different Guts, where he is broken completely to the point where he is ready to accept death. I think that's an important place for him to start going into this meditation chamber and moving up to the next paradigm. So I think we will get a lot of internal discussion with Guts reflecting on the past, and also with the Beast of Darkness. And I believe that what is going to happen in here is going to be the new Guts that we get afterward. He doesn't have his sword. He doesn't have his armor. He's only left with himself. He has no vices. He has no crutch. He has no security blanket. He only has himself. And how many people are actually willing to remove all of those vices and really sit down and think and reflect to themselves? Not many people do it. And Guts is definitely somebody that probably only does it when he's forced into these kind of situations. I think that this stupa is going to give him what he wants, whatever that is. If he decides for the Beast of Darkness to take over, that will happen. If he decides he wants to die, that will happen. But if he decides that there is something still worth fighting for, that there's something that he can do, that there's a person he wants to be that won't ultimately become like Griffith, that won't become like an apostle, that won't become like a Skull Knight, if there's another version there that hasn't been explored yet and he finds it, I believe the stupa will give it to him. Now, I'm just going on headcanon and conspiracy theories here, but I really do think this location is going to basically be the thing that gives the person that enters the thing that they want in one way, shape, or form. So the question will become, what will Guts decide? There's a lot of different avenues he could follow. There's a lot of different paths he could go, but no one else is going to give it to him. This can't come from Griffith. This can't come from Casca. This can't come from the Skull Knight. Other people can't tell him what to do. It's going to have to be Guts' choice and decision, and only he can make it without any crutches, isolated, alone, self-reflecting, and I think that's where we're headed. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this chapter. I know it was short, and I know it might be a little bit of a bummer to wait excitedly for a chapter and not get a whole lot of substance, but I think that what this is leading towards, and I think if you read the chapters in succession, other than waiting weeks or months for a chapter, I think the story is flowing well. There's some things I don't like here and there, absolutely. I'm not saying it's perfect, but the idea of what's happening here and the idea and potential I'm excited for. Again, if that potential is wasted, if they don't do this idea and they do something completely absurd, like put Guts in the hyperbolic time chamber, at that point, I'll go back on what I'm saying now. But as of right now, Yes, the end of this chapter, once again, got me excited. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Leave all your thoughts, theories, and comments down below. Also, guys, please like the video and comment and share it. Channel's not doing too hot these days, so I'd appreciate it if you did so. And if you're curious, check out the rest of my channel because I do a lot of different videos on a variety of subjects, from manga to horror movies, video games, and a bunch of other things that you guys might find interesting. There's also the Patreon channel memberships if you want to support on a deeper level. Other than that, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.